All right, so we're just started recording. So this is our final session of the day here, our workshop with Bettina Grab and Mel Adamson, how to attract customers and investors marketing your clean tech startup. So Bettina, if you're here, please, and Melanie, please share your screen or your webcam, and then I will stop sharing and you can take it away.
Okay, thank you for unmuting me. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and you're seeing the full PowerPoint slide, not the presentation view? Okay, yes. Good stuff. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging in there and staying with us. First of all, congratulations to all the finalists who presented today and also the ones who made it to the finals and were sort of in the long list yesterday. I think we can all agree you did a fantastic job and you can be so proud of what you've achieved to date. And yeah, welcome to our session on how to market your clean tech startup and how Cleantech Open can help you with that. So who are we? I'm Bettina Grab. I'm the Cleantech Open National Marketing Chair, and I'm also the founder and president of Impact B2B, which is a marketing agency that works primarily with clean tech companies, and we help them scale through effective marketing and sales strategies. I have over 15 years experience, mainly in B2B marketing, and I'm also a guest lecturer on B2B marketing at the London Metropolitan University and at the Presidio Graduate School here in San Francisco. My co-presenter today is Mel, who also supports Cleantech Open with marketing, and I'm super glad to have you on board because she's a real marketing and branding expert. Mel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Melanie Adamson. I'm with Alder Agency. And I've been having a great time working with Bettina and Ken during these last couple of weeks on this great show that you guys are getting today. And I am the founder and chief strategist for a small marketing firm. We do branding and creative execution.
Okay. Well, first of all, let us acknowledge that we have 45 minutes today and we can't possibly talk about everything that you could possibly do in marketing and what you should be doing in those 45 minutes. So when Mel and I were putting the session together, we were thinking about, all of you are probably at different stages of your journey and different things of that we're going to talk about today are going to be relevant for you. When we talk to our clients or our prospects or clean tech companies in general, we often hear, well, yeah, marketing is great and it's important, but it's too early for us. Well, we think it's never too early. And in fact, the earlier you start, the better and the easier your journey will be. So the graphic on this slide is from a really great analysis that the Rocky Mountain Institute has done on why it's so difficult for a clean tech startup to get off the ground. And some of you looking at this might recognize yourself in this. It's a great article and I recommend checking it out. It's linked on the presentation, which we'll share afterwards. And I don't want to recite the whole article, but basically they've identified sort of 4 hurdles or what they call the valleys of death that are basically stumbling blocks along your journey. And the first one is to even, get your startup from an idea to an actual company. So here the challenge is finding your team or getting some initial investment. The second valley of death is, product development and finding product market fit and articulating that. And then the third valley of death is market validation and getting your first pilot. And then the fourth valley of death is getting from pilot to a number of customers and getting into a repeatable process where you can scale your company. So this session is all about what we feel, what you should be thinking about in terms of marketing at each of these stages so that marketing can help you cross and survive those valleys of death. And Mel is going to start with the earlier ones in terms of branding.
Thanks, Bettina. So one of the things that you really want to start thinking about early on in your business is all about brand. And, we're not talking about your logo. We're not talking about, your website yet. We're not talking about any of those things. We're talking about brand. And just so we're all on the same page about what brand is that gut feeling that you have when you think about a product, a service, or a company. And that's part of what you're going to be building with your business, is you're building that brand. How do people feel about your business? And one of my favorite ways to take my clients through this process of helping them understand what a brand is this illustration. And it's fun, and it's also kind of the low common denominator I think we can all agree on and relate to. So here's this man, and he's talking to this woman, and he's telling her, hey, I'm a great lover. That is marketing in a nutshell. He is telling her, hey, I'm a great lover. Next, we have telemarketing. He calls her, hey, I'm a great lover. That classic telemarketing. Now it's only mobile phones and not, the old-timey phones. The next one is public relations. This is all about third-party validation, right? This is where you get credibility from. And this is also how you build trust. So it's third party, another woman telling, the next woman, hey, trust me, he is a great lover. And the next one, this is advertising. This is all about frequency, right? This is, hey, I'm a great lover, telling her over and over and over again, hey, I'm a great lover. And then the next one, graphic design, the visual expression of love. And this is what we're trying to get to. This is branding. So after you've done your marketing and after you've done PR and advertising, this is the woman coming to him and saying, hey, I understand that you're a great lover. That is brand. And that is what you're going to be building at the beginning, and what we believe is an important step in growing your business. So how do you create a brand? One of the parts of being an entrepreneur is that you are going to wear many hats. And Bettina and I know that as entrepreneurs growing our own marketing agencies. And so, part of that is, is putting on a marketing hat and start to ask yourself some really hard questions around, what does your brand name mean? Or does it have any meaning? Is it defensible? Have you had a chance to Google it and see if it shows up in other places? What differentiates your brand? If you've done some competitive analysis on products, maybe look at messaging. Look at your competitors' messaging. How are they talking about themselves? And how do you want to make sure that you're showing up in a different way, using different words, using a different tone of voice even? What do you stand for? Values. What is your passion? This is really important part of your brand, because when there is a crisis, and there's always a crisis, you can always fall back on your values and say, okay, this is what we stand for. We have, if your values are integrity, then that you need to communicate out to honestly with your investors, with your employees. So these types of values are really important also for communicating out to potential advisors, for also to for investors and for new employees. As you start to grow your business, your values will start to be communicated throughout your organization. And then how do you communicate about your product? All very important parts of your brand. So I was thinking about this when we were putting this presentation together. It's hard to be the Lone Ranger in your organization, or maybe you have a partner. One of the things that I've done, and I got this idea where I got the illustrations from before, from Marty Neumeyer's, one of his books, he's a brand god and someone I read all his books, but one of the suggestions that he has is to write an obituary about your company. So what does that look like at the end of the day? It really gives you a chance to dream and think about what you want to be, what you want the company to be remembered for. And I think that's a good first step in creating that brand. So once you have some brand elements, brand ideas, values put together, you really need to start thinking about who your customer is. And already I'm sure you have an idea about who that customer is. And so research is really going to help you, dig deeper into who that person is. And so, what we do and at our agency, we do a lot of research on customers. But if you are doing this on your own, these are just a couple of tips on how to dig deeper into your customer. And the first thing I always do is create a hypothesis. Who do I think my customer is? And one of the things I love doing is disproving it and finding new things that I didn't even know existed. So one way I go about doing that is usually creating surveys. I love doing one-on-one interviews because then it can really help you explore things that maybe you didn't know you would find. Focus groups are really great. You'll need some help probably with friends or advisors on focus groups. And then ethnography. If you're creating a software program, I love ethnography to just sit and watch people see how they're interacting with your product. I think it's really important. Now, you may be thinking, I don't know that I can get the scale of the research that I need to make this scientifically correct. Probably not, not at this stage, but at some point you will. And any research that you do is really important and could be really beneficial for your product. So I would say just go ahead and do it. And then, even B2B, if your customers are B2B, do some research, distill all of that information into a persona that is meaningful to you and meaningful to people that you're going to be working with. It also helps you to tell that story. In B2B, your customers, focus on the industry, how much money they're making, what kind of electricity they're using, whatever, depending on wherever your product is. So then we use that research and those brand elements together to create targets, or to create strategies and to create materials to target your customers. So next. So this is what I was just talking about. And that's, product market fit. A lot about your customers at this point. And I would say, after discovery, if you create some relationships with some of those customers, you might want to keep them integrated into your process throughout the product development, because you want to keep going back to them and asking them questions. If you have created that kind of relationship, they can be really valuable. And then, articulating that into the marketplace is really about understanding who they are, what their problems are. And this goes back to when you're doing your research, making sure you're asking the right questions and ensuring that you're solving those problems for them through your solution. Next.
Okay, so hopefully at this stage, as you're approaching the valley of death number 3, you have your brand in place, you formed your company, you've done your customer discovery, you've articulated your product market fit well, and as a result, you've had some early traction, and you're actually at a stage where you can launch your first pilot product or pilot project. Congratulations, amazing achievement so far. And this is really the golden opportunity in terms of marketing. That first pilot project is going to become your first case study, and that's going to be the most important case study you'll ever write, because it will really give you the breadth of content and it'll sort of lay the foundation for the future. So make sure you keep track of everything. Why did your pilot partner even partner with you? Why did they trust you? What did you learn together? What were the benefits that they got out of the pilot? And also don't just look back, look forward. What are the next steps? You know, have you made plans together? How are you going to take the project forward? And also get a testimonial for them. And then once you have that in place, it becomes so useful for your marketing. You can use it and reuse it. It should absolutely be on your website. So the example here is from a CTO alumni, 75F. Check out their website. They have a ton of case studies on there and they're all really great. This is probably not their first one, but it's just an example. You know, you'll use it in sales. They're really great for PR because likely your pilot customer is going to be more established than you, bigger. So the journalists will jump on the opportunity to tell that story. You'll use it in presentations, at events, and ideally you can even get your pilot partner speak on your behalf, which will add extra credibility. And then finally, hopefully you're progressing from the pilot stage to the traction stage where a pilot becomes 2 or 3 customers that you have. But now it's really about scaling. And it probably took you a good amount of time to get your pilot customer in place. You can't afford to do that every time. It has to be a more automated, repeatable system to generate those leads to help you scale. So on this slide are sort of the 4 building blocks of a great lead generation system. And this is mainly for B2B, but similar things apply for B2C. So first, going back to the personas that Mel already mentioned, make sure you have them in place. Typically in B2B, you're looking at 2 to 3 buying personas who make the buying decision at your target customers. And make sure they're actionable. So you know in terms of what role they have in their organization, what title they have, what their personal goals and pains are, not just the pains that your product is solving for their organization, but you know, as a person in their current role, what are their personal challenges that maybe are holding them back in their career? Whom do they influence and who gets influenced by them? And then finally, how do they consume their information? Where do you find them digitally? You know, do they hang out on LinkedIn or what magazines do they consume? And all of these criteria are actionable because they help you in targeting them later down the line. The second block is the customer journey. So this is really their kind of sales journey or their thinking as they move from sort of problem formation in their head to finally making a buying decision. So the discovery stage is where they can experience a pain, but they're not actually even sure what their problem is. So your role here is to help educate them and provide really useful information, for example, about what you've seen in the marketplace, what their peers are doing, or you know, the top 10 challenges that companies experience when they're trying to do X. You're not talking about yourself or your proper product. You're just helping them sort of shape their thoughts. The second stage is the consider stage. This is where they kind of understand the problem and they're now starting to look at potential solutions. This is where you help them weigh up the pros and cons of different paths they could take. So, you know, if you want to electrify your fleet, you could either buy electric trucks or you could buy a plug-in battery, or you could, whatever, decide to not do anything. Again, you're not really talking about yourself. You're just being really helpful and educational. Ideally, because you've done discover and consider stages right, they really value you because you've helped them along the journey and they trust that you know what you're doing. So now they consider you as a potential solution and they actually consider making the buying decision with you. However, they're likely going to be this really large enterprise and you're the small startup. So the justify stage is all about de-risking that buying decision. How can you reassure them that they can trust you and that will still be around in 5 or 10 years' time? So this is all about content that proves credibility. You know, your case studies, any accelerators or incubators you've gone through, grants you've received, investors that are supporting you. industry memberships, accreditations, really establish your place in the marketplace so that they can trust you. Then we move on to content. So this is where you combine your personas with their journey and you look at, okay, what questions are they asking in each of these stages? And I've kind of mentioned them now. So now you need to make sure that your content answers those questions in a relevant and easily digestible way, and that they can find this content easily as well. So, you know, look at your website and look at, does what we say on our website actually answer the questions that our personas are asking as they go through the journey? And it could be different types, you know, it could be white papers, it could be videos, webinars. Ultimately, it needs to match kind of what your customers are looking for. And then the fourth building block is the channel. So how do you get that content to your customers or to your personas? And that's where the personas come in handy, because now, you know, you've looked at what is their role, what is their title, where do they hang out? So you know where to find them. You just need to get your content to them. So this was in a really high level nutshell, kind of how you build a system for lead generation through marketing. I guess the alternative could be that you hire a bunch of salespeople and you have them cold calling a list that you've bought somewhere, but it's likely going to be a lot more expensive and a lot less effective. So what this does is it generates leads for you, and it helps your salespeople have a much more informed conversation with potential leads, because you can see who downloaded what, who looked at what at your website. You kind of know where they are in their journey, so you can really customize your approach, and that's going to be a lot more effective. Okay, so appreciate this was all very high level. At the end of the presentation, we have our contact details, so please do feel free to reach out, and we'll also have time at the end for some questions. So how can Cleantech Open help you with all of this? Well, if you've gone through the accelerator, you already know Cleantech Open isn't just the accelerator. It's actually an ecosystem that consists of, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of mentors and judges and volunteers, but also venture capitalists, other service providers, all the partners that were just presenting in the previous session. So it's really a great resource. And how are we plugged into this ecosystem? Through marketing or through public channels? Well, it is our channels, our social media channels. Our monthly newsletter gets sent out to over 25,000 people. Our events like this one are attended by over 3,000 people a year. So how can we help you? How can you help us help you? Well, first of all, it's a no-brainer and really quick. If you haven't done it already, follow and subscribe to all of our social channels and newsletters. And then please share your successes as you progress. And we're really not discriminatory here. We want to hear about everything. You know, what's the next accelerator you're joining? Have you won any awards, any prizes, pitch competitions? Have you received funding or grants? Have you joined fellowships? Also, let us know your commercial successes. You know, who's your next pilot customer? Who have you signed up? What's your growth milestones? And then ideally tag us in that news. So it's at Cleantech Open, and then use the hashtag CTO alumni success. We have a sort of a permanent column in our Twitter feed where we monitor that hashtag, and everyone, you know, everything that gets posted, we notice. I have some examples here recently. You've probably seen Spark Charge was on Shark Tank, which is obviously great publicity for them. And then there's also an example from our last monthly newsletter where we're just highlighting, you know, some notable successes. If you want to go beyond, you know, sort of just the social media outreach, please come forward and become an alumni speaker. You know, we're always looking for people who can share their experience with the current cohort and share what you've learned, give tips, bounce off ideas, or even become a volunteer as a mentor or judge. That's also a really great way to build your network. All right, well, Thank you so much so far. And we do have time, about 15 minutes, for questions, comments. I have not been able to monitor the chat, so I don't know if there's anyone, Ryan or Ken, to field some questions, or maybe Mel, if you have kept an eye on it.
What are some good, Thomas Jensen wants to know, what are some good references to understand the details of the customer journey stages and process?
Okay, so I think, and Mel, you might want to jump in. I find it really helpful to use the framework of those three words. So discover, consider, and justify. That's basically what's happening in your customer's mind. At the discover stage, they're still discovering. They're experiencing a pain, but they don't really know what the problem is. And especially if you work at a large enterprise, and it's a really complex problem, like how do you improve efficiency or decrease emissions from your supply chain? It's a really complex question. Yeah, it's not even a problem yet. So what you do, if you know that's, sorry?
No, go ahead, Bettina.
Yeah, and then discover and then consider is sort of more focused on the problem, and then justify is more focused on the buying decision. Mel?
I'll just add that I think, when you're in the research phase, and, the research phase for branding and for product development is an ongoing thing. And I think at that point in time, you have an opportunity to ask, what is your customer thinking during each of those different times that Bettina has just laid out? What are they, not only, where are they, how do they get this information? How do they best like to receive it? I mean, all that kind of stuff is really important during that research phase. And then also testing it after to ensure that it's working. And one of the things that Bettina brought up too is, the analytics is really helpful during that point in time. To constantly review, where people are showing up will tell you where you need to put the information.
Okay. Mariam has also asked to see that slide again with the valleys. To go right back.
Yeah, does there really have to be 4 valleys of death? Like, don't we just, isn't it enough with a pandemic and one valley?
Yeah, it could also be one really long, deep valley, right?
Yeah, that's what it feels like for the last 7 months.
So true.
And that's not funny. I'm sorry. I should not be laughing.
No, I know. And, we don't want to discourage you. I just felt like from what we had seen with our, with our clients or the companies we talk to, it's a pretty accurate description and observation of the different stages. I'm not saying every stage is really a death sentence, so don't be discouraged. But it's kind of the challenges that you're likely to be encountered. Okay, Abid, hi, thanks for joining. For B2B, do you find and get time with personas for customer discovery research? Yes, well, ideally the two overlap. Your customer discovery is at the very early stages. And Mel, why don't you talk about that, because that was your section.
Oh, yeah. So those are, you do your discovery work, as your research, and once you'll notice that when you get a lot of information, you'll get to a point where you're going to really start to understand and formulate, those characteristics of your persona. And, I've seen this a lot working with different utilities, working with energy efficiency programs where, the persona for B2B looks like a restaurant, or it looks like a grocery store. And what are all the different characteristics within those different target audiences? So a grocery store would have a lot of refrigeration. It would have very low margin. So they probably need some sort of payment program. These, those are the types of persona characteristics that you would get with a B2B client.
Yeah, and then I think the follow-up question was, how do you recruit them? So yeah, it's different options. Ideally, if you can go back to your existing clients, that's always a good starting point. If they're willing to help out, it doesn't matter that they're already an existing client. That's proof that you're on the right track, that you have the right persona. And then, find people just like them, and you can, go on LinkedIn, use the sort of similarity search function and reach out. And I think as a startup, you're in a great position because you can always play that card and say, hey, we're a startup, we're trying to, save the planet, change the world. Those are really valuable reasons to reach out and say, are you willing to spend 20 or 30 minutes on the phone with us? And yes, it's tedious, but it's going to be so worth it.
Well, I'm just going to add to that, because part of what the entrepreneurs are learning by going through Cleantech Open, this may be addressed to those in the audience that did not go through Cleantech Open, is learning how to do customer discovery and how to do those kinds of interviews. And you can go back to the interviews that you did, maybe now at this point, maybe 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, and you can call those people up again. And kind of now that you know, as an entrepreneur, now that you know more about your business, you can ask them more questions and be more nuanced about what you're trying to find out than you might have been when you first met them doing kind of random customer discovery interviews early in the process.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Really good question from Christian. So given that energy generation and storage, I assume that's the area you're in, spans individual pain points to global ones such as climate change. In the first two valleys, what scope should a startup address with content on their website? Is an inbound approach even viable? Okay, so
I would agree that an inbound approach is viable. At this early stage, I would be using some sort of form to capture information of the people who are visiting your website. So having some sort of content page, and then using that information to reach back out to those people. And it could be a variety of people, but you want to try to grab as much information as you can from them. Are they an investor, or are they a potential customer? So really trying to get that kind of information up front. And in terms of what kind of content you should have, definitely, back to the branding, who you are and what you believe in is definitely something that people want to see, as well as, any product information. And I do think it's okay to be aspirational without over-promising anything.
Yeah, and I think what's important to note, how long is your sales cycle? And if you're early stages, you might not be looking at making a sale as such for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's not really a lead generation machine that you're putting on your website at that stage, but you're already getting into your potential customers' brains and thinking about what are the potential questions that they're asking. And you want to make sure you're answering those questions through your content, and you give them an opportunity to connect and to reach out. Because even if they see you now, and then they're not going to see you for the next 3 years, you don't want to lose them. So you want to continue educating them, staying in touch, being perceived as being helpful and knowing what you're doing. And you don't know what stage they are at in their buying decision. So you kind of want to create a system where they can self-select, they can come back to you and then download that white paper that you've created at the point when it's really helpful to them. So you don't know it. So therefore, it's safer to have that content there on your website, even if you're not going to get a sale out of it within the next 3 months, because that's unlikely. I hope that helps. Yeah, maybe, we don't want to be talking all the time here. Maybe we can invite some of the audience to maybe share some of their experience of what has worked with customer discovery, or any other sort of lead generation type activity. If there's anyone who, yeah, hello, William, I see you've unmuted yourself.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you my favorite takeaway from this great presentation. I've thought a lot about who might be my first pilot customer for our pilot project, but I never considered that that person will become a real ambassador for us. So that's a whole nother level of choosing somebody who would be the strongest, to speak on our behalf, would have the most, verisimilitude and power. So thank you for that.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I think that's a really great point. I mean, if you're in the luxury position to be able to choose between your pilot customers, then I think that's a very valid criteria for choosing, For example, if you're in the utility space, and you have several interests, you might want to choose the one that's renowned in the market for being really progressive and leading in that field, because they will be out there talking about the great stuff they're doing, and they will feature you as their partner. It reflects positively on them as well. If they work with an innovative startup, that's what they're out for. It's their reputation that's on the line as well. Anyone else would like to share something?
I would. Bettina, hi, this is Sarah Fuentes.
Hi, Sarah.
President and co-founder of Smart Waste Incorporated. I wanted to share about how we have been able to leverage our partnerships with vendors as well, and not just our customers. One thing that I noticed in the service-based industry and in the waste industry is that you have lots of different sources for circularity, and that's, downstream partners. And so when we at Smart Waste, what we've been doing is establishing these relationships with these vendors and then using them as allies in the industry to promote my business. I'll use one as an example, which is TerraCycle. A lot of us have heard of them before. A lot of us know them internationally. And so one of the things that we are doing is partnering with big companies that are way bigger than us, but may not have the boots to the ground salespeople or team domestically that can provide also opportunities for them to get business. So that's really worked for me great. And I think that as a startup, it's really important to kind of jump on the tail wing of a bigger company and to ride that wave as much as you can, because then you can cross-pollinate and get referrals that way. Because I think referral-based business is also a great way of generating, new customers and relationships.
Absolutely, such a great point. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, partners and channel strategy could be a great leverage for your marketing, because you're, like Sarah said, you're working with companies that already have established a reputation in the market, that have reach, that have exposure. So if they can help you by naming your brand, by becoming a reference, a partner could also be a case study. It doesn't have to be a customer. Great point. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I think we have about 5 more minutes. So please, anyone else? Otherwise, I might move back to the chat. Deborah, thank you for your question or comment. You want to start with the end customer, end user to begin your customer discovery and personas, but if you will be relying on distributor, yes, I think it goes along the same point. Really good point. So personas is not limited to your customers. You want to develop partner personas. Anyone who you need to reach basically needs to be sort of formulated into a persona so that you know who they are, what attributes they have, how you can reach them, what influences them. Any book recommendations on doing customer discovery? I had one recommended to me, which I don't have top of mind, but I can certainly dig that out.
I have a good one.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that work with IN2 or ICOR, I mean. A
Okay.
customer discovery book, Ken?
Yeah, I was just getting that down from my business model generation is one of the big ones that covers customer discovery by Alex Osterwalder, which is kind of the cornerstone of the lean startup methodology that Steve Blank innovated along with Alex, and it's got some really good tips in that. 4 Steps to the Epiphany, that's also really good. Absolutely.
Okay. Any message? Yeah. Great. Thanks, Abid, for chipping in. Any more questions or comments? No? Okay, well, it's been a long day. So thank you everyone who has, hung out till now. We really appreciate you for investing your time. Thank you so much, Mel, for joining in and supporting. And thanks to Ken and Jessica and Ryan for running a great show and having us.
Well, thank you for your great panel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bettina and Mel, and let's see how. Stop hearing that. Thanks to all of you. I can't believe we've been here for since 8 o'clock this morning. It has been a long day. I've actually already had lunch, and I managed to spill on my dress shirt. So one thing to wrap up the marketing is Cleantech Open is here to help the alumni and those of you that just graduated help promote your companies and your successes. And as Bettina showed, we use the hashtag CTO alumni success. But we can't always follow what everybody's doing. We have 1,600 alumni. So please keep in touch with us or tag Cleantech Open, at Cleantech Open in Twitter or on LinkedIn. And we will be happy to amplify successes, like if you close a deal or if you get a significant fundraising or something like that. So we very much try to stay on top of what everybody's doing, but not everybody thinks 2 or 3 years down the road of reminding Cleantech Open. So but we would like to help and just trying to continue building out this community in a positive manner. So with that, thank you, everybody. I will do one final shameless plug with now, if I can find my link for the Global Forum. Anybody who's been on this long probably has already signed up if they're going to attend at all. But that's going to be Friday from 8 to 10, and then the expo from 10 to 12 Pacific. Jessica, any final words?
I muted myself because the dog got really excited.
And I see Ryan's been putting links in the chat too. So I have to both.
No, just thank you everyone for sticking around today. We saw some really great presentations. The judges came to a decision for both the winner and the runner-up, and we will announce those on Friday, close to the 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, each one of the top 6 will give a quick 1-minute pitch. And not kind of a full pitch with Q&A, but just quick 1 minute, and then we'll announce the winner and the runner-up. So, anyways,
People's choice. They get to
People's Choice too.
1-minute videos, yeah.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.